Welcome to The Short Score, your weekly update of roping news from around the industry, where you can find the latest on the sport from the pro rodeo ranks to the jackpot world. I'm Taylor Vollen, and I'm your host. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of The Short Score. It's our last one from Vegas. Well, technically we have two parts of this. On these last two, I guess we'll say, episodes of the Vegas edition of The Short Score, we have your world champs and your average champs. First, I bring you your 2024 PRCA Team Roping World Champions, Tyler Wade and Wesley Thorp. Things truly came down to the 10th round. I know we always say that, but I was crunching numbers, Chelsea and I, all morning yesterday, and there really were 100 different scenarios, things that could have played out. I mean, we went into last night having no idea what to expect, kind of. But T-Wade and Thorp are, like I said, back-to-back world champions. They take home the world titles with $361,480 won on the 2024 season, and that is a new single-season earnings record. Chelsea had the pleasure, of course, of catching up with the guys in this episode brought to you by Professional's Choice, and they talk about what round 10 looked like and what it means to be world champs again back-to-back, 2 times for T-Wade and 3 for Wesley. This episode is brought to you by Professional's Choice. We all want our horses to be comfortable and cool, and that is exactly what the new 2X Cool Cinch by Professional's Choice promises. The revolutionary 2X Cool technology is featured in this contoured cinch, which not only allows for free movement, but its wicks also sweat from the horse's belly to keep them cool and comfortable. The liner of the cinch also features a triple chill effect technology using cooling minerals to instantly and continuously absorb heat and wick moisture. Add a silicone honeycomb soft grip overlay to keep your saddle in place, and you've got the 2X Cool Cinch. At Professional's Choice, the more comfortable the horse, the better the performance.
They're like you see what I'm talking about? Like, I hit the panel, and I went with, like, I don't...
You hit the panel?
The night before, like,
oh my God.
A couple nights before when I missed. And, like, it's kind of stayed in my head, but I was like, just don't worry about it. And then I barely dodged the panel. Stayed with it really good, because... And then... I kind of...
He
was heavy.
It scared me a little bit, because you were looking at the barrier, and everybody was, like, hovered around there, and I'm like... Oh, don't tell me.
I didn't think you got it.
I didn't think you did either.
No, but the guys in the back, they you get a big yeah.
I was going to say, did you get it yeah?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, maybe I didn't hear it. I was blanking.
No, they didn't. Like, they usually get big yeah, and it was kind of like, I heard yeah, and I assumed we were good because he wasn't that close, but I was just like, before I get too excited.
I don't want to hurt your feelings yet. Like, you know what I mean? Like, keep trying, buddy.
And no, I backed in the box, and I was like, shit, have I tipped Andy yet? Because I'm pushing the steers. So like, I don't know if I tipped him. And I was like, all right, focus. And then I'm like, your reins. My horse shook his head, and my reins got longer. I'm like, choke up on your reins. And I'm like, then I nodded. I'm like, I don't know
Without choking up on your reins, or did you choke?
No, I didn't choke. It wasn't that big a deal. At one point, I got to just cut the BS and just rope the cow.
That is what I told him. He
blocks everything out and just kicks ass, and then there's me. I got reins, and I'm worried about the shootout.
He was like, Chelsea, run out in the alley and tell me what we have to do. I was like, no.
I told her, I said, come up there and just scream what we got to do.
I had literally had all the scenarios played out.
We're not bad at math.
In a way, like, I sat down last night for quite a while, and, like, I looked at it the whole way of the room, and then I looked at it when I got there, and I had a pretty decent understanding in a way. But it got just as weird as it could have got.
Yeah, it did.
You know, I mean, those scenarios of, well, I didn't know how much triggers moved up in the round. I didn't know how far Coleman, would have dropped or moved up. I didn't know if he got ahead of, there was just some things there. Well, Clint, I knew he moved to first. Well, then I didn't know how. So it was like, there's just a few things where I was like, that's what I told him. I said, I think maybe 5th or better. I said, but honestly, this year's, I said, let's make our run. And then that's literally what we walked in the box with our plan. Because it's like, it's hard to be, let's just be 4-3 or maybe 4-5 will do. You know what I mean? It's hard to, like, that steer was good enough that we knew that there was like 2 runs when we, like this morning, there's 2 runs that we said we would make. It'd either be, it fell apart, all we have to do is catch, or let's make our run that we came here first day, round 1 that we plan on making.
And 2, when these skiers get 4 runs on them, the draw is huge in the final round. And when the guys rope as good as they do, like, you'll see those steers where they're 3 on 3 times in a row, there's a reason. It's literally because of steer only. And that Coleman, that was a steer that we didn't win. I missed him. Dustin and Squeeza missed him, and Driggers was 9-2 on him. So, like, I mean, it really wasn't Coleman's fault. He literally just drew on the worst. He had some good ones early in the week, but for the position he was in, he drew a terrible steer to need to hit the gas on.
You celebrated for not knowing if he got the barrier or not. You celebrated pretty fast.
I was looking.
Hard.
It felt right, and then I took a moment to just double check, and then it felt right again. So I'm like, I was pretty sure. I really did think he got out. There was just a spot where he looked back, and he was like, I was wondering what he was looking at, and I'm like, well, maybe he knows something. I
was
don't.
Double checking, brother.
He was scaring me. Just like last year after I knew we'd won it, and he's over there panicking. I'm like, what does he know that I don't know? So that was the same feeling.
Okay, we're like 15 minutes since you won we haven't talked. We're 15 minutes since you won a gold buckle number 2. Can you compare it to gold buckle number 1? Can you compare it to gold buckle? Like, what is 3 feel like?
I remember last year when I was on stage, Wesley said, well, 2 is cool because it proves it wasn't a fluke. And I'm sitting over there with one of them. So I said, all right. So it's cool to do it again.
Tell your partner you weren't a fluke.
Yeah.
Joe Beaver gave a speech at the Purina Arena one time at the U.S. Finals, and all he said was he respected the guys that won more than one gold buckle because they didn't get lucky. And I'm like, dang, that's harsh, man. And I'm 10 years old listening to this, and then anyway, so I'm like, I think it's one is hard enough, but dang, it feels like if you get another one, it's kind of icing on the cake. I don't know what to think about 3.
I don't know either. I've been nervous all week and worried about it, and it's like, God's plan, and just have faith and see how it turns out. And it's hard to do when you're in that spot. That's because if you're not, it's like, oh yeah, just stay the course, see what happens. Everything work out how it's supposed to. But when it's you, I ain't slipped yet. So like, I don't know. Nerves don't bother me roping, and that's a blessing in itself. But all day, I can't really sleep sometimes. And I'm glad that I've failed so much that it doesn't affect my performance anymore. Like, and I will say that. Like, I don't think nerves don't make me better or worse, but I need to sleep. I need to go to sleep. That's what I do.
Yeah.
I was up at 3 this morning, just staring at the ceiling, drinking hot tea, and just running scenarios, and then the scenarios hit way different than I thought it would. And me and Wesley are literally yelling over the steers.
There's one team before us we're talking, and then they go and we're really talking.
The only person in there is us and the flag girl. And she's like dead silent. And I'm like, what do we got to do? And Wesley's like, we got to make our run. I'm like, how fast do we got to go?
Our fast.
He's like, fast enough. I'm like, do we need 4.8 or we need 3.8? But our steer was good enough. I feel like we knew if we caught him, we had a good shot. I told Wesley when we got the text on what steer, I said, hey, they're going to give us a shot right here. And I was just glad to capitalize on it.
Have you looked at your phone? Have you texted Patrick yet?
How many texts?
I haven't.
2,000.
Oh, man. What am I at now?
How many?
1,785.
He's checked some. He's been
I've been
responding.
responding,
Look at you.
I've been responding.
But has Patrick texted you? Have you looked at your
I
phone?
talked to him last night. We talked to each other last night, and then I haven't looked to see if he has or hasn't, but we haven't talked much throughout the week, but we had a good talk last night.
You going to tax him on that buckle?
I might have. He's going to have to pay the taxes on the buckle.
That is so cool for Turbo to be not just the horse of the year, but the world champion horse. And now Spur is too, which is pretty unbelievable. You've not accomplished that yet.
I think it's super cool because, it goes to show you how, both horses won horse of the year, and then we won the gold buckle, and it was still that close. Like, that's the difference. That's the tiny bit of difference in that it can be and how much horses really matter because he grew up being able to throw his whole rope and ride any horse. I grew up riding literally anything. We both grew up riding anywhere from a 25. Maybe the yellow horse was $1,500 horse that we first had her. So he was the same way. And so some people have the idea that oh, these guys can ride anything. Well, here we are. I've got 3 I love sitting at home or out back, and then he's got horse of the year, and we're riding them. I think it does, and it comes within inches.
It does a lot for us too to say, hey, that guy knows a good horse. After we know the difference. So I think long term wise, when we call someone, we're done rodeoing maybe, and say, hey, we got a good one. We know what a good one is, and get proof of it. So that's kind of cool too.
Is there Any chance that Turbo papers get transferred?
Honestly,
not now.
You just made him pretty expensive.
well, honestly, Patrick and I are really good friends, and we've talked about it all the time, but neither one of us has really had more than one conversation about it. And he's been busy, I've been busy, and our main goal was to get through this, and there's nothing pressing for having to have him into the next season. And if he's wanting to rodeo and decides to rodeo, he needs him too. So he does know that I would let him ride him. He does know that. But other than that, we haven't had many conversations outside of that. But he knows where I'm at on the deal as far as we both, are on the same page, and I'd help him in any situation, and he would has done the same for me outside of team roping. So it's been a good friendship and partnership, and whatever happens is where I'm at on it.
3 gold buckles is as many as Jade has. It's as many as anybody's had lately. Are your goals
now
shifting?
2's not good enough.
2's not good enough. Yeah, 2's lame. Are your goals shifting at all?
My one goal from the beginning, he heard me say this. I was hanging out with him and Lane Ivey in Denver, Colorado one time. And I said that my goal is to be the best healer in the world one day, and then I feel like I can safely step away if I want to, or keep doing it if I want to do it. And I still feel like there's a lot more than just winning gold buckles to be able to say you're the best healer in the world. So that's been the overall goal, and I was nowhere close at the time I said that. Like, it wasn't even like I was in the equation, and now I feel like it's fun to be in the equation, but that's the overall goal. And I guess until I feel I prove that to myself, I don't have necessarily a gold buckle number or anything like that in specific.
Well, any new goals for you?
The first one, I will say this. The first one, after I won the world, it was the weirdest feeling.
It's like, because it was split,
it's a weird feeling. It was split, but then I'm like, that's supposed, and it was crappy timing. Like, the COVID was the next year, and things were weird, and it just felt like, it didn't feel like I won I didn't know if I deserved to win the world. I really didn't know I just didn't feel like a world champion healer going into the finals. I roped good, I won the final, not saying I wasn't in the question, but like I didn't feel like a world champion going into it, and I left being a world champion, and that it kind of messed with my whole perspective. And so I got through all that and changed kind of my whole perspective and outlook, so I don't get caught up too much in like counting the trophies or maybe one day it would be fun to sit down at the coffee shop and say something about it, but I don't really care about that now.
Goals for you? Anything changing?
Make a living team roping. So I don't want, like Wesley said, sometimes the best healer, of his generation or whatever he calls it, it's not necessarily trophy based. We see it every day at the jackpots, and there is a handful of guys that you don't stump your toe when they're around because they don't mess up. And we proved that tonight, and last year too. Everybody that needed to catch last year was 3. Clinton Jake did it again. Drigger spun another one back. The last 3 or whatever, 4. I don't know. More. I don't have to go after him every night. It's just hard to keep up. But like that, for me, it's just make a living team roping. It's crazy that we got 2 of them.